A World War II shooter with Insurgency's gunplay? I only heard about Day of Infamy by accidentally stumbling across it on the homepage of Insurgency when a live stream of the game was playing audio by itself and I was trying to figure out the source of the sound. I had no idea this game even existed, or at least when I saw the name, I just lumped it onto the pile of other indie World War shooters that have sprung up recently. All I'm saying is that Insurgency World War II would have been a good name, New World. So I picked this up during the Steam sale, and after several nights of unhealthy quantities of gameplay, I quickly came to the conclusion that, yeah, this game is my new jam. For those curious, Day of Infamy is Insurgency's movement and gunplay mechanics lifted straight into a World War II era. The World War II setting has always lended itself well to games, and DOI is no exception, offering a variety of weaponry, fulfilling various roles without any all-size-fits-all weapons. Well, that's not really true, as they do have a Sturmgewehr 44, which, unsurprisingly, is the best weapon in the game. However, it's only available on select maps, and it is incredibly expensive to equip, and is only available to a single class. The maps in the game work fairly well, with my favourite probably being the D-Day map, which, at the start, was easily my least favourite map to play. Over time though, I found it to be the map that demanded the most coordination and strategy from my team. Working together with my team was, in this game, both simple yet highly rewarding, a rare combination, and is usually the difference between winning and losing. Teams without an officer, for example, are heavily hamstrung as they won't be able to call for any air support on the battlefield. Which leads me onto my next point, which is that DOI brings emphasis to class roles, whereas in Insurgency, the lines between classes are heavily blurred, to the point of the class select menu almost being erased to select the one class that has your favourite gun at a low price. In DOI, however, classes have clearly defined roles and strong effects on the battlefield. An officer can call in support, however, he requires a teammate who is carrying a radio. Any class can equip the radio, but the radio class gets one for free, which makes him ideal for this case. The machine gunner has the most devastating weapon in the game, with bullet penetration through walls. However, he can only fire the gun from the hip whilst he's on the move, and if you want to aim with it, you have to deploy the bipod on a flat surface, which in turn makes it a laser beam of death. The assault class, unsurprisingly, has weapons ideal for rushing objectives, such as SMGs. Engineers have explosives such as rocket launchers and TNT, which are required for destroying damaged holes in walls to open up new flanking routes on maps. The sniper, which has access to scopes for bolt-action rifles. A support class, which is essentially a mobile version of the machine gunner class with less firepower. A rifleman for basic killing and grilling. Then finally, the flamethrower class for trolling. To further accent the roles of each class, most of them have passive abilities, such as the rifleman having increased stamina, and the assault class having slightly faster movement speed. One weapon I always thought somewhat pointless was the bolt-action rifles in Insurgency. A battle rifle such as the FAL with armor-piercing rounds would kill any target, even with heavy armor, in one shot at any range. You can also attach high-powered scopes and bipods to the battle rifles, rendering a slow bolt action redundant. In DOI, however, the sniper class has access to scopes, whereas most other classes don't, thus making the class stand out by being deadly at long ranges outside the rest of the other classes' effective range. The map design is a mixed bag. I'd say a lot of them tend to suffer with the same flaws that the early versions of Insurgency's maps did, being too many choke points and too easy to lock down the enemy team with just 2 or 3 players. After the expanded versions of the Insurgency stock maps were released, they came pretty close to perfection in my eyes, and hopefully down the road we can get that same treatment again. As I mentioned earlier, my favourite map so far is the D-Day map Dog Red. When I first started playing it, I absolutely loathed it, due to it often becoming a simple meat grinder for the US forces. However, over time I've come to find that it has by far the best experience, as it absolutely relies on team strategy. It really encourages you to talk to your team, to get an officer with a radio to call in smoke on the bunkers, making the Nazis blind, and to have a competent sniper for the enemy to keep their heads down, giving your boys a window to advance. The game also supports mods with full Steam Workshop support. If it has anything on the level of mod support that Insurgency had, it will essentially be a catalogue of free, high quality DLC. There is a progression system in the game, but don't panic, as there are no weapon unlocks or any of that kind of stuff. Ranking up unlocks new factions, which gives you access to new character models and voiceovers. I would argue though that these are actually gameplay affecting, as some of these new factions' colour schemes offer significant advantages on certain maps. Also, one of the German factions has a very bright beige colour uniform, which is very easy to confuse with the beige of the Commonwealth forces, causing you to second guess enemy targets and sometimes getting you killed. If you get 800 kills with one of the 5 marksman weapons, you get a worn out version of the rifle. If you then get 200 headshots with said weapon, you get a cool looking bandage wrapped around it, which I do say does look pretty cool. These items become more of a status of achievement as opposed to the usual rewards of modern games coming from random loot drops out of crates, signifying nothing except the fact that you lucked out. It's nice in a way to experience cosmetics how they used to be, a representation of accomplishment. A subtle change from Insurgency was that objectives play a more predominant role in winning matches, whereas in the former game I felt that deathmatch was the primary means of victory. With Infamy, it's the opposite, with objective based wins being the most common, which I like. Overall, I say if you enjoy Insurgency and you like World War II settings, you'll enjoy the hell out of Day of Infamy. Even if you aren't crazy about the setting though, Infamy brings a fresh take on the gameplay with several key improvements, and priced at £15 or $20 US, I'd say it's hard to go wrong. If you enjoyed that video and want to see more, click like and subscribe.